welcome everyone out tonight to our Meet the Candidates Q&A session forum, and it'll be a three-part forum. Tonight we'll be hosting candidates that are running and seeking the position of circuit clerk, chancery clerk, and sheriff. Tomorrow, the 29th, we'll be hosting all candidates seeking supervisor positions. Thursday night, the 30th, we'll be hosting all those candidates running for judge, North and South District, and constables, North and South District. At this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Attorney Biles to introduce our moderator, distinguished moderator, and questionnaire. Throughout the night, we'll have questions coming from the moderator and from the audience. At this time, Ms. Attorney Biles.
Thank you, President Lowe. It is a great pleasure this evening. I greet you at this event here today where we're getting to be introduced to our political candidates for the night for Marshall County. But it's with great honor that on behalf of the Mississippi Roses of the Links Incorporated, that I introduce to you our moderator for tonight, who is Dr. Tamla Boyd Shaw of South Haven, Mississippi. Thank you.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's political forum. As noted, I am Dr. Tamala Boyd Shaw, your moderator for the evening. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge and thank the sponsors of tonight's event: the Mississippi Roses chapter of the Links Incorporated and the Marshall County local branch of the NAACP, from whom you've heard the great president. Great appreciation is also given to Dr. David Beckley, president of Rusk College, Dr. Adebayo Moyo, and the Mass Communications Department at Rusk College Cable Channel RCTV2 and radio station WURC Radio 88.2. Tonight's political candidates are vying for positions in Marshall County as the circuit clerk, who serves as the clerk of the circuit court for 3 sitting judges, the chancery clerk, who, among others, maintains records of the chancery court, which is a court of equity, and the sheriff, who serves as the executive officer of the circuit and chancery court for the county and shall attend all the sessions thereof with enough deputies and bailiffs. All precincts in the county will be voting on these candidates' positions. Tonight, the candidates present for circuit clerk are Mrs. Monet Bell Archery, Democrat, former Marshall County Justice Court clerk. Mrs. Patricia Glass, Democrat, clerk for civil process with the Marshall County Sheriff's Department. And Mrs. Belinda Sims Hollowell, Democrat, city clerk for the city of Holly Springs. In order that we may hear from all of our candidates tonight, we respectfully and adamantly ask that our candidates please remain within the time frame, respect the voice of your opponent, and clearly answer each question. To our audience, we thank you for being with us tonight, and we do require your full attention and ask that you please refrain from any positive or negative outbursts, cheers, or acts of verbal response. This forum is an opportunity to hear from our candidates and the candidates only. So candidates, tonight you will have each 2 minutes to share an opening statement for your position. We are beginning with our circuit clerk candidates. Now, except for an incumbent, which I don't think we have on this particular ticket, each candidate will speak in alphabetical order. We will begin with the circuit court candidates, then we will move on later with chancery clerk, and finally sheriff candidates. So we will begin with opening statements. First, Mrs. Monet Bell Archery.
Good evening. My name is Monet Bell Archery. I am a candidate for Marshall County Circuit Clerk. I am thankful for this forum this evening, sponsored by the Mississippi Roses and the NAACP. Thank you for the invitation. As stated, I am a retired from Marshall County Justice Court. I served Marshall County Justice Court for 19 years as a Justice Court clerk here in the state of Mississippi. I have 19 years of training as a court clerk prepared through the Mississippi Judicial College. I have training with the Attorney General's office. I have trained with the State Audit Department, where it's necessary to handle funds that are receipted in a court system. I have training with working with judges, not only judges and justice court clerk in the justice court system. I have had to work with judges on the circuit court system when judges have recused themselves, when we've had to file appeals, when we've had to, whatever the judges were not going to be able to do, when the cases were coming in where judges could not sign off on, I'd have to find a circuit court judge to do that paperwork. I have 22 years experience with working with the public here in Marshall County. I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Mississippi in public administration, and I have several things that I want to do as a circuit clerk. One of the main things that I want to see done once I'm elected to that position is elderly and disabled people at this point have to pay postage to vote. I'm going to work very diligently with the Board of Supervisors to see if we can get money put into that budget so the elderly and disabled, like my mother that's 103 years old, will not have to worry about paying postage to vote in Marshall County. At this point, there are other counties that are doing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Autry. We will move on to our next candidate, Mrs. Patricia Glass.
Good evening. If you don't mind, would you please repeat the question?
So this is your opportunity to share an opening statement.
Thank you. I am Patricia Ann Pendleton Glass. I'm a lifelong resident of Marshall County. I'm a proud resident of Slayton, Mississippi. I am a mother of 3. I am a proud grandmother of 1. I am a Christian, and I belong to the Hudsonville CME Church, and I am a candidate for Circuit Clerk of Marshall County. I have been working and serving in Marshall County for 37 years, and in the private sector, I know Marshall County and I know the people of Marshall County. I was blessed to run for Circuit Clerk 4 years ago, where the citizens of Marshall County showed me love, and for that I am a candidate again in 2019.
Thank you, Mrs. Glass. We will now have candidate Mrs. Belinda Sims Hollowell.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. First, I would once again like to thank Marshall County Branch NAACP, Mississippi Roses for holding this public forum, you for moderating, and to each of you for being here today to meet the candidates, as well as WRC FM 88 for broadcasting this evening. You asked, who is Belinda Sims Hollowell? I'm a candidate for Marshall County Circuit Clerk, born and raised here in Marshall County, grew up on Mariana Road, graduated from Holly Springs High School, Go Hawks. Also the University of Mississippi with a degree in accounting. I am experienced, I am qualified for this position. I've had the pleasure of working in the Circuit Clerk's office as Deputy Clerk for 3 years, in which I had the opportunity to handle civil and criminal cases. I issued marriage licenses, passports, and voter registration cards. I also had the opportunity to collect court fees, restitution costs, and most importantly, to work with the citizens of Marshall County on a daily basis. Presently, I serve as the city clerk for the city of Holly Springs. In this role, I have held 3 municipal elections, all of which have been certified by the Mississippi Secretary of State's office. I have trained poll workers. I have conducted absentee voting, as well as performed logistics and accuracy on the voter machines. I ask you humbly to go to the polls on August 6th and vote for justice and fairness. Vote Belinda Sims Hollowell. Experience matters.
Thank you, candidate Hollowell. So as we begin our debate, after hearing these opening statements, please let it be known that the questions were submitted by members of the Mississippi Bar Association and members of the Marshall County NAACP. They were randomly selected and revised by Judge Shirley Byers and me, and we are the only ones who have seen the final questions. We will engage the candidates in a question and answer session. Candidates, you will have 2 minutes to respond after you're called upon. Let the debate begin. Question number 1, and we will begin with you, candidate Autry. Please share with us what you believe the most important issue or concern is for the office of the circuit clerk.
What do I believe the most issues are as a circuit clerk?
The most important issue or concern for the office of the circuit clerk.
As a former clerk for 19 years, working in the justice court system and being trained by the Mississippi Judicial College, what concerns me most is to have a person in that office that's been proven to be fair to the community, that has run an office with the utmost integrity, a person that the citizens of Marshall County trust, that will work with their files to make sure their files are filed efficiently, making sure that you're working with all the attorneys. I have experience with working with those attorneys in an efficient manner already. I already know how to do that paperwork. One of the most pressing things in any court system would be making sure that the paperwork is filed in a timely manner, making sure the judges know what is coming through that court, the district attorney's office knows what we have for them, knowing their court schedules, and also knowing the judges' schedules for the court system, and making sure it's done in an effective and efficient manner.
Thank you. Candidate Glass, same question. What do you believe the most important issue or concern is for the office of the circuit clerk?
Thank you for asking. The most important issue to me in the office of circuit clerk is to educate every citizen and resident of Marshall County about how important it is to vote. We, as a race and as a society today, to me, are taking voting too lightly. We have got to instill the importance of voting. The circuit clerk touches every resident of Marshall County. The circuit clerk can implement and provide information to every resident on how important it is to vote. If we could come together as a county and vote, then there will be a much better county. It will be a much better county. I want to bring awareness to the resident about the primary role of circuit clerk. I want to educate the residents, and including myself, on how the court works and operates. I want to educate the residents that has convicted felons that they can vote. It depends on the felony that you have been charged and convicted with. I want to go to the legislature. I want to change the law. I believe if you become a convicted felon, once you become out of jail and out of prison, that you ought to be able to vote. Once you come back into society, why aren't you able to vote? A circuit clerk has that opportunity to go and stand up for all people. I want the court to be justice for all. I ask to be your circuit clerk to help bring justice for all.
Thank you, Candidate Glass. Thank you. And to Candidate Hollowell, asking the same question, and we will just emphasize, we've heard from the other candidates, fairness, trust, efficiency, effectiveness, voter education. What would you, Candidate Hollowell, offer as an important issue or concern for the office of circuit clerk?
The office of circuit clerk, there are so many different aspects to that office. But if you ask one primary one that's very important is conducting elections. That is a way to get it out, to get voters' rights, all of the information out. I plan to train, educate, and collaborate. Train, educate, and collaborate. Elections, with the elections process is very important that it is held with integrity. You must know what you're doing when you enter into that office and you work with elections. Absentee voting, voters' right, logistics and accuracy of machines. Those are concerns of the community. I'm passionate about the community in which I live. I'm passionate about the people in which I work with on a daily basis. I'm here to help and to serve. Once again, I'm a public servant. Elections, voters' rights, those are important aspects of that office.
Thank you. So we want to build off those topics that you brought up, candidates: voter education, voters' right, fairness, trust, efficiency. I'm sure that you know that voter turnout in Marshall County is less than 30% in major elections. Do you see how this office can change these numbers? Now, candidate Glass talked about maybe changing the laws and allowing others to vote. So we want to ask, what other ideas or what information, what can you add to seeing how this office can change the numbers of having less than 30% of voter turnout? And we'll start with you, candidate Hollowell.
Yes. Already in the community, I'm out there already, voter registration. I'm already working with service organizations to promote getting out to vote. That is very important. That's the only way you can have a voice, is to get out and vote. That is not happening right now. That's why it's so important to train, to educate, to give everybody the right to come out and place their voice. It is important to do that. So if I'm given the opportunity to work in this office, I will continue to do what I'm doing already. I will continue to work in the schools, to work with the youth, to educate the importance of getting out to vote. Our forefathers fought for that right, and we must continue to work with our youth. They are the future. It's important to get out and vote. You don't have a voice if you don't vote.
Thank you. Candidate Autry, the same question. Whereas voter turnout in Marshall County is less than 30% in major elections, do you see how this office can change these numbers?
Yes, some of the things that I would like to do as the next circuit clerk would get the high school students more involved. Currently with my campaign, I've been working with high school students, not only making sure that they're already registered to vote, having them to speak with their friends. I have nieces and nephews that are in high school. They're involved in my campaign with helping to get the information out, the voter registration forms, to make sure that all their peers are registered to vote. I do believe that voter turnout here in Marshall County could be better if the churches, I would love to be able to go into the churches and help get churches more involved in voter registration. I have worked with some organizations, not many, because I'm not a member of a lot of organizations due to personal issues that I have with a 103-year-old mother. But I do know the concerns that people have where it comes to voting. They believe that a lot of people here in Marshall County believe that they cannot trust the people that are in elected office at this point. That's one of the reasons that I am running, because people have come to me, and with my 19 years experience here, trust me. A lot of people know me, trust me, and think that I'll be the person that will be able to help them get more involved. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Autry. Candidate Glass, we're just going to ask it in a different way, since you did bring up a potential change in thinking about how convicted felons will be able to vote. We recently saw in the news where 17-year-olds can actually vote in Mississippi as long as they turn 18 before the general elections. Do you have any ideas about how to engage 17-year-olds who will meet the age requirement by general election? What are your thoughts about engaging those students in that age range to impact this number of less than 30%?
I honestly think that 17-year-olds could make the difference in all elections. If we start our youth out young and on the right track, then they will become more productive citizens of Marshall County or of any county. At a young age, when you train a child the way to go, they may stray, but they'll come back and always know the way to go. I applaud the law for 17-year-olds to be able to register and vote as long as they turn about 18. I've been into the school system. I have been registering youth and young adults at 17. I encourage the parents, if every household, to tell your youth and to be an example and show your youth how important it is to vote, not just on a president or a circuit clerk election, but all elections. We all should vote no matter what is going on. I was blessed to have a grandmother to live to be 101. She told me at the age of 70 plus how important it was to vote. She said her parents died before they had ever had lights or running water. They never was able to vote. She never missed the election. Ever since that day, and I've turned 18, I try my best not to miss an election. I think, if you check the book, I think I've only missed 2, being so I was having babies and what have you. But being of age of 17 and 18 can make the difference. But we have to come together as a race and as a people and as a body to stand together and let everyone know just how important one vote can make a difference. Our children and a lot of adults think my vote doesn't matter, but it does. It matters. And at 17, at this race, of what we got going on right now, the high school students can actually make the difference.
Thank you, Candidate Glass. So let's switch gears a little bit. We've talked a lot about elections. What are the duties of the circuit clerk outside of election responsibilities? Candidate Autry, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you for that question. The duties, basically, if you look up the definition of a circuit clerk in the state of Mississippi, you'll find that the circuit clerk is the clerk of the court for the judges, which means they're the holder of the records. The duties as pertaining to the holder of the records is all the felony charges would be filed in that court. Any civil matters over $3,500, mostly over $3,500 are filed in circuit court in the state of Mississippi. Their marriage licenses, of course, passports are filed there. All the appeals coming from the justice court system, as I stated earlier, are filed there. All the felony charges coming from any municipality within the city, within the county seats of Marshall County would be filed there. It's just a lot of all the paperwork, all the motions, all the pre-trial motions, any orders coming from the judges would be filed in this court. It's very important to have a person in that office that is already trained and efficient with knowing what kind of papers, what these papers are, what these papers entail, what exactly goes on in that court system. As I stated earlier, I have 19 years of training. As a matter of fact, the majority of felonies that have been filed here in Marshall County would have already gone through my hands. I've only been retired a year. And also, not only did I do the paperwork for justice court and sending that paper for 4 years, I actually had to do the paperwork with all the felonies for the city of Holly Springs. So I'm pretty much familiar with all the paperwork that would go through that system as far as criminal and civil cases are pertained to.
Thank you. Candidate Hollowell, other duties that you can add to that or expound upon that are outside of election responsibilities?
Well, that is not difficult to do. Serving as deputy circuit clerk, I feel that I have the most experience in this office. Touching the cases, handling the filing of the records. Currently, I keep the minutes for the mayor and the board of aldermen. I have served under 2 mayors and 3 different boards. It's very important to keep accurate records. That office is all about records. The filings of civil and criminal cases go through that court system right there in the circuit clerk's office. But still, it's still important to witness a marriage license or a passport, someone getting a passport for the very first time. As well as I can tell you the story of sitting in the courtroom taking the minutes for a civil case that turned out, and I had the opportunity to announce whether the person was going to have to pay restitution fines or not. So that was a moment in my life, and I carried it on to the civil clerk's office. As I said earlier, I was raised in doing the right thing. It is important to be confidential in that office. Everything that comes in that office is confidential. You need a person that's going to be very confidential, and that is what I'm doing currently with the records there in City Hall.
Thank you. Candidate Glass, other duties that you would like to add for the circuit clerk's office outside of election responsibilities?
One of the main duties that I would like to add outside of my regular duties is I would like to see the court system of Marshall County change. When I say change, I mean change. If you go to jail here now and you go to prison, when you come out 10 years, our citizens can't get their record expunged. My son went to Kyville and got a ticket. I went to court with him. Once he paid the ticket, the judge say, you can come back on Tuesday and Thursday and have your record expunged. Here, our people are going 10, and 15, and 20 years, cannot get their record expunged. It only costs $50 right across the state line to have your record expunged. Here, they want to charge you thousands. It don't make sense. The circuit clerk gonna have to take a stand to make some major changes in order to bring all of us together and for this to balance out. You don't expect for a person to go to jail, go to prison, come out, their sentence is done with, they can't vote, and then they can't get a job because you won't clean a record. Why? Some changes has to go on, and I'm ready to make the changes.
Thank you, Candidate Glass. As we continue on with understanding your perspective, your ideas, your plans for this role of circuit court, we're going to move on and let's think about the citizens themselves. So the average citizen, how will the average citizen know in some formal fashion what you are doing in this job just on an everyday basis? So again, how will just the average citizen know what you're doing, and may I add, how well you're doing it on a daily basis? Candidate Hollowell, we'll start with you.
Yes, I believe in this position and in all positions, attitude is everything. A positive attitude, that's what I will bring, and that's what I'll continue to bring in all jobs that I have. I will bring a positive attitude to the office. When citizens come in with a question, I'll be there to answer the question. I'll be there to help them. I'm very compassionate. I love to help people. And in this office, I will do as I'm currently doing. I will continue to provide service. Any questions asked, I will continue to answer those questions to the best of my ability. It is important for the office to be where anyone can come in, to feel comfortable, to come in and ask any question. And while I was in that office for a little over 3 years, that is exactly what I did. I helped many citizens in that coming in, asking questions about court cases, civil cases, criminal cases. What can I do to get my case expunged? It is important to understand the statute. I work with the statute currently. We would like to make a lot of changes, but sometimes we have to follow the statute. In the statute with expungement, you have to know the crimes that you can get expunged, and attorneys are usually necessary. But I plan to collaborate. There are many groups out there that offer expungement where it will be simply free. So I would like to say that I will bring a positive attitude to the Marshall County Circuit Clerk's office.
Thank you. Going back over to you, Candidate Glass. So just the average citizen, how will this average citizen know in some formal fashion what you are doing in this job on a daily basis and how well you're doing it?
The average citizen will know how well I'm doing because I'm planning to have an open door policy. I don't want you to be afraid to come into the circuit clerk office. I don't want you to be afraid to ask anything that's going on with your family, with your loved ones, if anybody's in trouble. I want you to be able to come into the circuit clerk's office, and it's an open door. It's an open book. If you need to find who's been where and when, the dockets are there. Today, I work for the Marshall County Jail. Out of all my opponents, I guarantee you more people come to Patricia Ann Pendleton Glass for help than an opponent. An open door policy in Marshall County Circuit Clerk Office is a must. We must be able to go to the person, trust the person, and be confident that that person is going to help you. I'm the person.
Thank you. Candidate Autry, again, how will the average citizen know in some formal fashion what you are doing in this job on a daily basis and how well you're doing it?
The average citizen on a daily basis would be, first of all, the circuit clerk's office is a public office and it's always open to the public. I've run a court system again for 19 years. There's a lot of information in a court system is public information. Anything that's public information, the public has a right to view. There's a lot of information that goes through the circuit clerk's office. If it's already been recorded and everybody has been seen, everything in that office, as has been stated, is not confidential information. It's only confidential information if it's not been served on a person. So one of the things in saying that the reason that I'm running for office again is because I know what it is to run a fair office. I know what it is to work with the public because I've worked with the public for a number of years. If the information that I have out, you'd see that I've already run an office that has 170,000 plus cases that have been filed through that office. I've run an office that we work the phones nonstop with questions. Some of the information that people call you and ask you over the phone, you must know that you're talking to the person that is asking you that information. You have to be trained and equipped with Mississippi Judicial College to know what is public, what is not public, what is actually the law. And I have training with the law with the state of Mississippi for the past 19 years working with a court system. And it's very, very important to know what a court clerk can do with the public, what a court clerk cannot do for the public, what information is public, what information is not public. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I would like to see anything done in the circuit clerk's office that the state of Mississippi and the laws thereof are not already laws and thus say the circuit clerk can do this or that until those laws have been passed. Thank you.
Thank you. So fair warning, candidates, this will be an opportunity for each of you to answer a different question. So starting with you, candidate Hollowell, do you believe that there should be courtroom security? If so, who should provide it? What are your plans to ensure the presence of law enforcement during court proceedings?
Yes, I do believe there should be courtroom security. With what's going on in the world today and what's happening right here in our local state and in our local community, it is important to have courtroom security. I believe that it should be law enforcement to hold the courtroom security. They should be responsible. That's why they're in place. Law enforcement should be the ones that make sure everyone is safe in the court of law. Presently, I think over at the courthouse, and I know when you come in and you in for court, you have to go through a metal detector. It's already there. So it's there for a reason. It's there for our safety, and I think it should remain there, and I'm all for courtroom security. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Autry, what's your idea of effective and efficient jury management?
My idea of effective and efficient jury management will be set forth by the state of Mississippi. Whatever the rules and regulations thereof with, as far as getting a jury selected, how many jurors will be pooled, and anything, any and everything that is set forth that I'll do pertaining to the state of Mississippi. I'm not going to go outside those guidelines trying to make rules and regulations as a clerk unless the rules and regulations with the state of Mississippi abides by the. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Glass, what is your opinion about the communications among the offices within the county government?
As far as I know of, I believe the offices are getting along. Everything is working smoothly. I'm sure that there are communication, I'm gonna say that. I'm sure that there are communication gap that can be closed, to bring all of us to the same page. But again, it's gonna take communication. Somebody's gonna have to make the effort so we can all get along and agree.
Thank you. So now is an opportunity for either of you to respond to either of those individual questions. So I'll ask Candidate Archery, would you like to give a response to either the question about courtroom security or the question about communications among the offices within the county government?
I'd like to talk about the courtroom security. Okay. As a court clerk, again, I've said this over and over again, as a court clerk trained by the Mississippi Judicial College, it is the chief law enforcement's duty to make sure that a courtroom is secure. A court clerk will not have any jurisdiction to handle any courtroom security without the jurisdiction of the sheriff, which would be the Marshall County Sheriff's Department would handle all of the courtroom security. So it's nothing that I would do other than supply them with anything necessary if they needed something as far as security is concerned. I'd help them try to get that in the budget or to get it supplied for that courtroom. Other than that, a court clerk wouldn't have anything to do with the courtroom security other than making sure that the Sheriff's Department is there and in place.
Thank you. Candidate Glass, would you like to respond to either question? Do you believe that there should be courtroom security, or what's your idea of effective and efficient jury management?
I think their both response was well, so I'm good with both of the answers.
Thank you. Candidate Hollowell, either question, what's your idea of effective and efficient jury management, and or what is your opinion about the communications among the offices within the county government?
Well, I'll speak to effective jury management. I presently serve Marshall County Jury Commission. I was appointed by the Marshall County Board of Supervisors. So it's already a process in place in which we select the jurors. And so that process is the process that's followed by the state of Mississippi. So that's the process that I would follow. But serving on that commission brings into play that I already have the knowledge of how a jury is selected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. So this question, we will ask that each of you have an answer to it. Voter ID. Candidate Glass, do you see any complications with voter ID?
No. Why? Because the circuit clerk's office offers voter ID. If you do not have an ID, then all you have to do is go to the circuit clerk's office and let them take your beautiful photo, and it will carry you anywhere you want to go. Now, a lot of us don't know that and didn't know that the last 4 years, and those are some of the things that I want to get out and be able to reach everybody. It doesn't matter if you don't have a driving license, if you lost your driving license, you can go to the circuit clerk's office any day of the week, 5 days a week, Mondays through Friday, and take a photo and go and vote.
Thank you. Candidate Archery, do you see any complications with voter ID?
At this point, no, I do not see any complications dealing with, in Marshall County, because the circuit clerk's office does offer a voter ID, where you could go in and get a voter ID to vote. But also with the state of Mississippi Department of Public Safety, if you don't have a driver's license, everybody is eligible to get a voter ID. An ID card registered through the state of Mississippi. And the reason I say I don't see a problem with it is because my 6-year-olds have state IDs issued through the Department of Public Safety. And if a 6-year-old has and meets the qualifications to receive a Mississippi state-issued ID, then anybody else in the state of Mississippi with the proper information should be able to get a state-issued ID or go to your local circuit clerk's office without any problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. As we move on, let's talk a little bit about the court system itself. So with experience in the court system, and each of you has talked about the experience that you bring, please share with us specifically your experience in the court system. And we'll start with you, Candidate Hollowell.
Yes, once again, my experience in the court system, by working in the office, I've had the opportunity to work with the civil cases, to work with the criminal cases, the appeals, the grand indictments. I've been given that opportunity to sit in the courtroom, to take the notes, and to issue the verdict. At this present time, having over 3 years of working as a deputy circuit clerk, I feel that I've had firsthand experience in touching all of these important aspects of the office. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Archery, your experience in the court system.
My experience, again, for the past 19 years, or for 19 years, at this rate, I've served as a court clerk in Marshall County and for the state of Mississippi. I not only have had experience as a court clerk, I've had to actually write affidavits for the citizens of Marshall County because, of course, you wouldn't expect a person to be able to walk in off the street to be able to do an affidavit. I've had to do warrants for the judges. I've had to issue and sign off search warrants. I have actually had to be in the courtroom with 2 judges. I've had to work with the circuit judges, as I've said. I've had to do civil court cases. Not only have I had to do that, in being a court clerk, trained by the Mississippi Judicial College, in order for me to actually do affidavits and make sure that they're done effectively, I had to actually know the law, which one pertains to the situation that a person comes in to file charges. The Sheriff's Department, a lot of times, they would actually have to confer with us as far as which affidavits, which code sections they would use in filing cases with Marshall County. So I'm already proficient in that area. I just would like to be able to move forward into the circuit clerk's office to work more effectively and efficiently at a larger state.
Thank you. Candidate Glass, your experience in the court system.
My experience in the court system has me on a low. The court system is failing a lot of our children, to me. The court system is set up, and I don't want to say it's set up unfairly, but there's going to have to be a way for our youth and young adults, once they make a mistake, we all are human, and we've all fallen short. We've made mistakes. We don't want, because you make a mistake, it to linger over your head the rest of your life. The court system, our youth and our young men today are afraid to go to the court system. They're afraid to go to justice court because they're afraid they're going to be locked up. They're afraid if they get stopped and they got child support and different issues. If they have child support, they're gonna get locked up. If they have speeding tickets, they're gonna get locked up. If they don't have a job in order for their fines, they're gonna get locked up. Who are they gonna go to? They have to have somebody to go and talk to. If the court was just take time to listen, and let's organize a program where everyone, even if it's $10 a week, where everyone have the opportunity to pay off their fines in some type of way and still keep a job instead of just slamming them in jail. How am I going to pay my bill if I'm in jail? How am I going to pay my child support if I'm in jail? The court system still has a way to go.
Thank you. And this last question that we'll ask of all of the candidates, we would just ask that we reduce it from 2 minutes to 1, and because it should be hopefully a simple response, maybe with a little bit of context. Candidate Hollowell, have you ever been bonded to receive and account for money?
Yes, I'm currently bonded as the city clerk. I'm the chief financial officer for the city of Holly Springs, so I'm bonded there. I'm also bonded with Omicron Alpha Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, in which I serve as president. Also, I was past treasurer of Mississippi Rose's chapter of Links Incorporated, in which I was bonded. So I've been bonded in service organization as well as professionally, as well as being bonded when I served as deputy circuit clerk. Thank you.
Candidate Archery, have you ever been bonded to receive and account for money?
Yes, I have been bonded with Marshall County as a justice court clerk. Not only was I was responsible for my bond and the monies that I had to account for, if something happened with those deputy clerks, I was also responsible for their mishaps if it pertained to money. So yes, ma'am, most definitely I have been bonded for 19 years with the Marshall County.
Thank you. Candidate Glass, have you ever been bonded to receive and account for money?
No, I haven't.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we have reached the wrap-up portion of our debate, where we will now hear from each of our candidates and in their own closing remarks. Now we are back at 2 minutes. So candidates, as you prepare your closing remarks, or as you give your closing remarks, you have 2 minutes. And we will end in the order in which we started. So we will start with candidate Monet Bell Archery.
I would like to say the citizens of Marshall County are the major reason that I decided to seek the office of Marshall County Justice Court. Many of these citizens are persons that I've already known, that they know and respect me as a fair person, as a person of integrity with running a court system, and a person that was very trustworthy in running that court system. I'm seeking this office specifically because of the respect that the citizens had with me, the bonds that I formed with these citizens, and the relationships that I have formed with Marshall County citizens for the past 19 years. My platforms are very simple. I've already put my platforms out there for the people of Marshall County, and I have had overwhelming responses to my platforms as far as just one little thing of just eliminating that postage for the elderly and disabled. I have other platforms that are out there on my website, on my Facebook page, if anybody feels free to go out there and get that. I want everybody to know and understand that a court clerk is trained by Mississippi Judicial College, regardless of what court clerk it is. It's definitely different and a different mindset than a deputy clerk is, and has lots more responsibilities. A deputy court clerk in the state of Mississippi has never been trained through the Mississippi Judicial College. So what I'm asking you to do is consider my experience with the state of Mississippi, with Marshall County, and to go out on August 6th and select the best candidate, Monet Bell Archery. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Glass.
Thank you. In my closing remarks, I would like to say thank you to this forum for having us here tonight. In 2015, I stepped out on faith, and I asked the citizens of Marshall County to go to the poll and vote Patricia Ann Pendleton Glass, your next circuit clerk of Marshall County. In 2015, you did that. Even though we carried 38 boxes out of 38 and wasn't announced the winner, we still fell short. In 2019, I'm going to ask you again, as a citizen of Marshall County, to go out and support Patricia Ann Pendleton Glass for circuit clerk of Marshall County. You have stood with me this far, and I don't believe you're going to fail me now. I ask you because I love people. I ask you because I'm for people, everybody. I'm asking you, the most important thing for you to do in 2019 is to go out and vote. If you don't vote, don't complain. If you don't vote, don't complain. But I'm asking you on August 6th to go to the poll and vote for Patricia Ann Pendleton Glass. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hollowell.
Yes, thanks again to each of you for coming out. It has been a pleasure in sharing in the public forum, in the political forum here this evening. I asked the Marshall County residents to look at my qualifications. I asked you to look at the facts. Fact number 1, serving as deputy circuit clerk for 3 years, handling day-to-day the operation of that office. I asked you to look at fact number 2, holding municipal elections, performing the tasks, training the poll workers, conducting absentee voting, performing logistics and accuracy testing on the machines. I asked you to look at my experience as chief financial officer, being able to collect the fees, to submit them to the state of Mississippi on a timely basis. I asked you to look at the facts and not fiction. Trust the person. I have trust and integrity, honesty, fairness, and justice. Experience matters. I can go into that office and hit the ground running. I ask you again, I humbly ask you to go to the polls on August the 6th and vote Belinda Sims Hollowell. Vote for experience, justice, and fairness. Vote facts, not fiction. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, voters. 3 of the candidates for the position of Marshall County Circuit Clerk. They have been heard tonight. It's now up to you to exercise your right to vote. Remember, the primary election day is Tuesday, August 6, 2019, and the general election day is Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. Remember also to take your photo ID to the polls. Coming to you live from Rust College, I am Dr. Tamala Boyd Shaw, wishing you a pleasant evening. Thank you and good night.